Hello everyone, it's Dr. Horowitz here to introduce you to our next module, the changing landscape of organizational communication. Having viewed Module 1 and looked at the activities and the videos and examined the assembly line innovation introduced by Henry Ford, I'm not sure many of you would be volunteering to work on one of these assembly lines, whether it was back then or even now. And make no mistake, there are plenty of assembly lines to go around even today. I think that you, like other employees of that era, would have reached a point, sooner than later probably, where the fatigue, the monotony, the boredom would have impacted you to such an extent that regardless of the job security and the high pay, for example, there's just a limit to what the human body and the human spirit can endure. And that's what eventually happened in organizational evolution. Interestingly enough, at the same time that classical management was in its heyday, research was going on in a very important field, that of psychology, by a giant of psychology, Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was unraveling the mysteries of the human mind, and in particular, the factors that accounted for human motivation, which translated to human satisfaction at some point, and in the workplace, productivity among workers. There were two theorists most associated with the work of Sigmund Freud, that being Abraham Maslow and McGregor. Maslow is known for something called the hierarchy of needs, and McGregor is known for something called Theory X and Theory Y, which relate directly to what motivates individuals in general, and in particular in the workplace. Now, we're going to examine these theories, and we're going to see how they practically impacted how managers also evolved and adapted to this new awareness of how people expected to be treated and communicated with in the workplace. I've added a special activity for you as well. Because we are dealing with human behavior and human emotions, employees don't leave that at the door when they enter work each day. We're engaged now, especially in the United States, in some of the divisive times we've ever had. We've recently had a U.S. election that can, without question, be called one of the most tumultuous and divisive in the history of our nation. I decided it would be an important time because it involves human emotions and the fact that they are being brought, as you may be experiencing yourself, into the workplace. You yourself, as a leader and a colleague and fellow employee, may have very strong feelings about the issues that are taking place in our nation and whether or not they're interfering or impacting your ability to maximize your productivity as well as that of your fellow employees. I'd like to challenge you in this activity, which you'll find in the module and on the discussion board, to not so much vent or express your own personal feelings, but to the extent that you can, in fact, to refrain from doing so, and rather approach this issue as a professional leader and communicator and motivator, and yet address the issue that employees are bringing each and every day literally into today's workplace, in particular with regard to these high emotions that they're experiencing. And there'll be more said about that as you examine that. But now we're beginning to shift all of our thinking from looking at employees as robotic and interchangeable to actual pieces of the system that really must be accommodated in order to have them work effectively as individuals and as team members, again, for the prime purpose of maximizing productivity in the workplace. With that somewhat lengthy introduction, let's take a close look at our next module, Human Relations, the Changing Landscape of Organizational Communication.